You need put 2 in the middle.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's there.
He did.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm
Sorry.
He's
I
1, 2
didn't see.
to anti.
Oh, okay.
Hiding from the
So it's on.
I mean, it should not be in this area, so that's why I couldn't.
Raise.
Let's pass on. Pass.
Jungleman's got 2 queens open up. Call from Punnat Punsri on the dealer button.
In this video for PokerNews.com, playing 1,000, 2,000 in the Triton Poker Cash Cam, roughly 100 big blinds deep, Dan Cates raises it up from the hijack with pocket queens, perfectly fine and reasonable. Punnat, on the button, decides to call with ace-8 of diamonds, also good. Leon in the big blind, closing the action calls with ace-7 of spades, perfectly normal so far. Let's go to the flop.
Suited ace for Sukernik. Flop strip 7s. Rainbow board.
Bet 6,000.
Gonna start with a 3rd pot bet. And he's gonna raise it up to 18,000. Just thinks that Jungleman is gonna continuation bet.
The flop comes 7-7-3. Leon should check everything as he does. Dan Cates decides to make a small continuation bet, which I think is definitely reasonable for 6,000. And then Punnat decides to get a little bit loose, a little bit splashy with the ace-8 of diamonds, and he makes it 18,000. Look, I think this should be a very clear fold on the flop, especially given Leon's range could very easily contain a whole lot of 7s or draws. So I think this is a spot where Punnat just needs to let it go. I don't even think you should have very many raises in this situation, given Leon has a very clear nut advantage, because Leon's going to be sticking around preflop with a whole lot of 7s. If you are going to raise in this situation, I think you would much prefer to have a hand like a gut shot straight draw or a backdoor flush draw. I think the ace-8 no backdoor flush draw is just a fold. Let it go. He must think Dan Cates is playing far too wide preflop and continuation betting far too wide on the flop. But even then, he still has to worry about Leon. I realize that Leon actually does have a very strong hand with trips in this scenario this exact time. And usually he's going to have nothing. But he is going to have trips some portion of the time. Plus, Dan can also have a pretty good hand too. So I think this is a spot where the ace-8 suited just needs to let it go. But he does put in the raise. Over to Leon. Let's see how he proceeds.
2 wide on this board. And they won't be able to continue. And Sukernik gonna slow play here of ace-7 suited.
Pass. Thank you.
Facing the $6,000 bet and the $18,000 raise, I think Leon should only call in this situation with most of his range in the spot, because essentially Punnat's saying, I have a really, really, really good hand here, or some sort of draw. And most of the draws in this situation are going to be kind of junky. So if you consider Leon's very strong hands, well, they're probably going to stack Punnat's very strong hands anyway. So he doesn't care about that. And he really wants to let him stick around with whatever junky draw he has in the spot. Plus, Leon does have some hands that may splash around in this situation beyond exactly trips. So keeping some trips in his range is very nice, because that's going to let the turn check through a lot, and it's going to let Leon realize his equity. So I think Leon has a pretty easy call as he does. Over around to Dan Cates. This is an annoying spot because both players certainly do have 7s in their range, but if for whatever reason Punnat's read is right that Dan Cates is raising too wide preflop and continuation betting too often on the flop, Punnat's going to be raising kind of wide. Leon's a generally splashy player. He's going to stick around with more than just 7s. Therefore, you can't really go about folding queens. It's a tough situation, but I think you have to stick around, as Dan does. Let's go to the turn.
We got a bet and a call. 3 ways.
Check.
Bet raise and a call, I mean. And Punnat Punsri hits top pair, but he's got to be worried when he got called in 2 spots after raising on this
The
draw.
turn is an interesting 8. Leon checks everything, as he certainly should. Dan checks everything, as he certainly should. And Punnat, even though he improved to top pair, has a very easy check behind, because at this point, no one's folding a 7, and I do think Leon is going to have a lot of 7s here. And I don't think Dan is the type of player who likes to go about folding over pairs, so your bluff failed on the flop, even though you improved a little bit on the turn. You just got to let it go, check, 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 and try to spike on the river.
Sure. And he just hits running 8s to take the lead in his hand against Leon Sukernick. And Leon's got to think he's got the best hand. He's going to bet 38,000. Gangnam style, as he calls it. Now, Jungleman usually doesn't need to be worried about Punnat Pawn 3 to raise the flop and check the turn. So he might be thinking he's up just against Leon. But Leon's got a 7 or nothing. And Leon's the type of guy that can definitely show up with nothing. He makes the call.
The river is the magical 8 to ruin Leon's day. I think this is a spot where Leon definitely wants to value bet. Even though he could be against a better full house, the odds are super low because essentially Dan's going to have almost no 8s. And he only loses when Punnat raises the flop with a hand like 9-8 suited or 8-6 suited or 10-8 suited or random ace-8 suited, right? And when it does run off club and spade, notice the backdoor draws that are logical raises on the flop are now not possible because the 9-8 of clubs is not possible because the 8 of clubs is on the board. So this is a spot where Leon basically has the nuts. So he does go for a medium-sized bet. I think maybe a smaller bet is probably a little bit better because you really do not want to let Dan fold out over pairs. And I think against any reasonable bet in this situation, it's just so easy for Leon to have a 7. And I'm not even sure he would necessarily bluff with whatever bluffs he has at this point. And he may not value bet thinly with a random hand like pocket 9s, right? So I think facing the 38K bet, maybe Dan's just supposed to fold immediately. It really does depend on the mood Leon's in this day. I've seen him play generally good, tight, aggressive poker, and I've seen him play bonkers insane. So if he's bonkers insane, you can't go around folding the queens. But I don't fault Dan for folding the queens in the spot, but it is certainly a tough spot, and Leon's played his hand exactly like a 7. So Dan calls. Let's see what the ace-8 does.
1002 hrają. To są tysiączki, a to są...
How much you have, Leon?
I have 50,
90.
90.
Almost 90.
90.
Yeah.
$98,000. 88,000 more.
Punnat Pawn 3 from Thailand does go for it. And Leon just sticks it in. Does not believe someone could have an 8
I
here.
think you run a runner 8s with 9-8 suited or something.
Pass.
Jungleman thinks he's got runner by 8x suited.
Ace-8 has an easy all-in. Getting good odds. I think Leon just has to call it off. It's a rough spot, but he really doesn't have to be so worried about Dan in this situation having a better hand. So Leon has to call. Overround to Dan. Easy fold at this point. On the river with an overpair. When it goes bet, call, all in, call. You better have a pretty good hand. Dan realizes it, and he gets out of the way.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Give me a 200. Full house
Tides
from
are
now,
strong.
full house.
The waves furious. The warriors fierce.
Dan Cates thinks every day is Halloween. He loves wearing costumes. Here at the Triton poker game, he decided to dress as Triton. I've seen him be the sheriff at the lodge. He's also played as the Macho Man Randy Savage, some Dragon Ball Z anime lookalike, and God knows what else. What I want to know is, who do you think he is going to cosplay as next time? Let me know in the comment section down below. That's gonna be it for today. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, click the like and subscribe buttons below. Also click the notification bell. Good luck in your games. Have fun. Make the most of your opportunities. And if you want another crazy bluff against Jungleman, it seems like people love running bluffs against him, we have another video lined up right now for you. Thank you for being here. When your opponents bluff, try to not let them get there. And I'll talk to all of you next time.